Are you ready for a podcast? This is Corey, and this is the Anthem podcast.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Rob. Welcome to episode 279 of the O The Anthem podcast, coming to you from the hashtag OTA LA Studios, high above the 110 freeway in downtown Los Angeles, California. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for listening to us on your podcatcher of choice. The easiest way of doing it is going to anchor.fm/O The Anthem. You can be linked to any of the podcatchers that you listen to, Apple, Spotify, Google, everything. It's all available there.
And of course, you can find more O The Anthem at O The Anthem on Instagram and Twitter. You're checking us out right now at facebook.com/O The Anthem. And you can find more videos, all the videos, youtube.com/O The Anthem. And of course, everything O The Anthem related, including the merchandise store, is at otheanthem.com.
Yes, indeed.
So let's kick off. We had a little break because, the Orioles suck. So we didn't have a lot to talk about. But it's exciting. We're back. Only 5 weeks to go before 4 weeks to go?
4, yeah.
4 weeks to go. So it's time to bring back that old standby, sports ball.
Sports ball.
Yes. So before we dive into preseason football, another story. I mean, the Orioles suck. They still suck. We're not making the playoffs. We'll be lucky if we get 50 wins this year.
Not the Orioles.
Luckily, we're not the only team burgeoning on 50 wins this year, so that's good. It's feast or famine. The MLB has turned into basically our fantasy football league, feast and famine. But a little bit of Orioles excitement this year.
A little intrigue.
Week. Yeah. So for those of you who don't pay attention to the MLB, Chris Davis and Brendan Hyde had a bit of an exchange this week. Brandon Hyde. I don't know why. I think it's just because
you keep thinking of Brendan.
I do keep
my
thinking
brother.
of Brendan. Yes.
Yeah.
Somebody who's cool, calm, and collected, but for some reason makes some irrational person very, very mad all the time.
Looks like a Muppet.
Yeah, a little bit like a Muppet. Yeah, sure. But no, so they had a bit of an exchange, and
I mean, Brendan kind of looks like Beaker.
I never thought about that. He does kind of yeah. I mean, not the voice, obviously, but the that's
what it sounds like to me.
Very long head and like tuft of hair and. Scientist.
Yeah. It's not so bad.
That works. I can see that. Anyway, Brandon Hyde.
Yes.
And Chris Davis had a bit of an exchange in the dugout this week.
They did indeed.
Yeah.
Was not caught on Masson cameras, but was caught on the Yes cameras.
Yes.
Basically, it looked like Brandon Hyde said something to Chris Davis, and then Chris Davis got really upset and then started charging at him where like Trumbo and Don Long and a couple other people had to like hold him back. And then Brandon Hyde just continued to walk into the dugout.
So I did a little research, and I was wrong at what I said in the pre-show meeting. It turns out this was them coming off the defensive field in the fifth inning.
Yeah.
And there had been like 3 errors in the inning, and basically Chris Davis was, who's playing first base, a rare field appearance for him. And keep in mind, he's batting 167, which is 100 more than the $67 million he got paid play baseball this year. And he apparently was like, come on guys, get it together. Like what are you doing out there? Let's play some baseball. And apparently Brandon Hyde said something along the lines of, when you start performing in the batter's box, maybe you can have something to say about how people are playing in the field. And Chris Davis later said, I just feel like I've been at my breaking point. Everyone knows I've been struggling offensively, and it just set me off when he said that. And Brandon Hyde has, as a manager, tends not to, said nothing about the incident. Except for there was some thought that first of all, everybody on Twitter went rampant with it, and it's like, how you going to start a fight and then walk away? Like, no, you got to get in his face. It's like, no, listen, Chris Davis punches the manager.
This happened once before, and Bryce Harper ended up getting choked by Jonathan Papelbon.
Also, that's true.
Like, I don't think I need that in my life right now. I don't think I need a Chris Davis like choking Brandon Hyde.
Yeah. Also, both got suspended for several games, I believe.
Oh, you mean
Papelbon?
Yeah.
And the last thing we need, the only thing that won't help Chris Davis's batting average, is him getting suspended for
not being on the field.
Yeah. So I think Brandon Hyde, to his credit, when he was basically just like, hey, I think he was doing the manager thing of like, hey, shut it down. These guys are trying. You're trying. We're not doing very well.
Right.
Just shut it down. And
I mean,
Chris
it was
Davis,
a really bad game. It was like 14 to 3 or something like that. It was not going well.
Chris Davis, steroids raging in his system. Of course, allegedly, I don't want to put anything on him, but lost his cool. And Brandon Hyde, being the manager, was like, all right, I don't want to have to suspend you for punching me, so I'm going to go into the clubhouse, basically, go for a walk and let you cool down. And
I'm going to watch the rest of this one from my office.
Yeah.
That was an option?
Mark Trumbo, who apparently still plays for the Orioles, and I had no idea. Haven't heard his name in a while, except for holding back Chris Davis during this fight. Held him back and kept him from chasing Brandon Hyde. So not a lot of excitement on the field. A little bit of excitement in the dugout.
Yeah.
And, of course, Twitter went wild with it, and it's just like... I don't know why Brandon Hyde went running. It would take Chris Davis 9 or 10 swings to actually connect with him, so he had plenty of time, and thus such things. So
I don't. Something tells me this will just blow over.
Yeah,
and
totally will.
Chris Davis will not be a member of the team at the end of the year. But if
who's taking on that contract though?
nobody, he's just going to get cut, and
They're going to pay him to go home.
Probably.
Jesus
Christ.
Christ.
The point of like continuing in with this?
Send him down to Norfolk. Make him the best paid AAA player.
I don't think
baseball.
you can. I don't think you can at this point.
Oh, man.
That's what I'm saying. You know what? I do have an honest question though, and I've never asked this like out loud on the podcast forum, and I don't know if anybody in the Orioles beat has ever bothered to ask this question, and it's just something that's sort of been sticking with me here recently. Chris Davis is naturally right-handed.
Yeah.
He throws right-handed.
Yeah.
But he bats left-handed. And I know there's a lot of people who like to bat left-handed, even they throw right-handed and stuff like that. That's not really what I'm not talking about like his preference. I'm just sort of talking about like maybe he would be a better hitter if he hit right-handed.
And has he ever tried?
And has he ever tried? Is there something wrong with it? Is there is his swing even worse from the right side? I mean, like it's weird to not be able to. Usually when people are right-handed and they bat left-handed, it's a choice. It's like I like how I can see things differently. I like how it feels when I'm swinging. I'm using my power hand up front as opposed to like in the back. But has he ever examined the possibility that maybe he shouldn't be batting left-handed, maybe he should be batting right-handed? We could do that like fake injury, like he has a right wrist injury that's keeping him from swinging from the left. So now he's going to go to Norfolk and work on his right-handed swing for a little bit and see if like we can salvage this at all.
Well, there was a guy I played Little League with who ended up going into the minor leagues for a little while before he realized that, you're never going to get to the show, and this is in Bull Durham, so let's go get a job. Yeah. And basically what
Especially because minor league baseball players get paid like $12,000 a year.
Yeah,
like
it's not really a job. And you take a lot of time, so you can't really hold a job other than that. It's like, I'm going to bartend 6 months a year and then go play baseball 6 months a year and make $20,000 a year. Yeah. But
make more money bartending than you do baseballing.
When he was playing in Little League, he was always a right-handed batter. And when he went to high school, probably I think his junior or senior year, when they were looking at him, when colleges were looking at him, he went through this cold streak. And they switched him around to the left-handed. And he was always like a mediocre, not like a mediocre hitter, but like he was a put it where he wants to kind of hitter. Switch him up to the left side, and he starts banging home runs.
Yeah.
And then that's when they were like, "What? This guy's a power hitter from the other side of the plate." And then he went into the minor leagues and just always stayed left-handed. And it begs the question: did something like that happen to Chris Davis? And they're just like, well, if you put him on the other side of the plate and he's actually hitting the ball, who cares if he hits home runs? Put him in the field.
If Chris Davis switched over to the right side of the plate and hit 275 with 35 home runs or something like that, I'd be fine. That would be a perfectly reasonable.
I don't need 60 home runs.
Yeah,
I'd like you to connect 2 or 3 times out of 10.
And I mean, like the years that he was his best, the like 2012 and 2014 years, I guess they were the one. Were those the ones I'm thinking of? Or 2010, 2012?
2014 was the 2012, 2014. And 2014 was the year he got suspended as we went to the playoffs, right?
Yeah. So that wasn't it. It was the other years then, I guess.
Yeah.
The in-between years, because...
Well, he got that big contract in 2016.
Regardless.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. But I'm saying, like, when he was really good, it was not only that he was hitting all these home runs, like hitting 50-something home runs, it was that he was hitting, like, to all fields, and he was, like, dropping in these nice little doubles along the left field line and stuff like that.
He had a high on-base percentage. and a lot of home runs.
Yeah, I mean, his batting average was always terrible, but he was
Yeah.
still figuring out some sort of way to get on base, and that was.
And being clutch.
Yeah.
And not breaking down in the ninth when you need a hit and striking out. That's the key.
When he did connect on a home run, it was a sight to be seen.
Yeah.
Because who would travel?
Well, the other thing we were talking about him being left-handed is like when you're in the minor leagues, especially, the trip out to the right field fence is generally shorter than the trip out to the left field fence.
Yeah.
And some guys switch around to make it a little easier to hit.
Well,
out
and
to
then
right
there's
field.
the people like Ichiro who, like, his father just determined that he would be a second and a half quicker to first base if he started in left field box.
So
and
there you
taught
go.
him how to swing left-handed.
Listen,
like,
I know it's
Ichiro is not
completely
a
unnatural.
natural lefty.
And it's completely unnatural, but I want you to switch to the other side, and I'm going to have you take
gonna do that.
15,000 hits.
I'm gonna do that to all my kids. They're gonna all be right-handed. I'm just gonna be like, you're gonna be a lefty pitcher, and you're gonna work forever.
Like Chris, Corey,
You
what
can only
happened
throw
to
72 miles an hour. They'll hire you. It doesn't matter.
what happened to all the kids? What happened? Like, well, had 10 boys. One of them survived childhood. The very high suicide rate from me switching them up left to right and confusing them and forcing them to go outside in the rain to throw 1,000 pitches a day. And Tommy John surgery at 6 years old.
I figured it would make them stronger. Curveballs at 3.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
come on, get that spin rate up.
Oh, my. Anyway, so baseball, though, season's not over yet. We still got a lot of season left, month and a half
Yeah.
of season left. But the good news is football's back to save us.
Yay.
And woe to ye who have your fantasy draft already because of situations like Antonio Brown out in Oakland / Vegas. It's Vegas, but Oakland. Yeah.
They're doing the Raiders on the Hard Knocks. I just don't understand how they're not talking about like the move like all the time.
Yeah.
It's just like they're like like showing beautiful like vistas of like Napa Valley, and I would just have like the narrator just all the time be like, Napa Valley, home of the Raiders for the last 30 years and for the next 2 weeks.
This will be the last season out here in beautiful Napa Valley before they go to the beautiful Sin City.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at some point in Hard Knocks, they should, if they have a stadium being built, they'll like do the thing where like, like John Gruden goes and looks at it. And he's just like got a hard hat on. He's just like, wow, this place is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anywho, Antonio Brown.
Woe to ye who have drafted him already in the first round.
2 super interesting pieces of information with Antonio Brown. First, he injured himself. This is one of the best sports injuries ever. And by best, I mean like most unusual sports injuries ever.
Yeah.
He went to France and had some cryotherapy done. And
Now,
did not wear
went
the
on
proper
vacation,
fire.
though, right?
What?
Went on vacation, but just did cryotherapy while he was there.
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe like he just knows the best cryotherapy person is in Paris and decided to fly out there for the day.
I feel like that the injury would not have happened if he went to the best cryotherapy place in the country. I feel like sir.
So apparently what happens is like when you go in there because they're literally just like freezing you.
Yeah. You have to wear gloves.
You have to wear gloves. You have to wear like they're like feet mittens. They're
Yes.
like the super heavy socks,
and they coat your face with something as well.
Yeah, I think they have something on your face as well. But like the idea is that if your extremities are going to feel it the first, and Antonio Brown did not put on the proper footwear and has frostbite on his feet. And there's still like you can literally just like Google Antonio Brown feet and see what he like posted it on Instagram or something like that. It is very weird looking. Like
I'm just thinking like, he's in some support group. They're like, what happened? Like, well, I climbed Everest. I lost 2 toes. But it was the best experience of my life.
Hello, not climbed Everest.
Yeah. It's like, what happened to you? Cryotherapy. Didn't want to wear the stupid fucking mittens.
In Paris.
They made me look dumb, and the girl was hot, so I was just like, no mittens. Froze my toes off, so sorry.
Anywho, but the other part of this, the part that I just find so incredibly fascinating because it's such like a diva move. The NFL has a new regulation about what helmets can be worn, and only the approved helmets can be worn on the field. And one of the things is like it has to be a relatively new helmet.
Yeah.
So it has to be like you can't wear a helmet that's like been on the field for more than 10 years or something like that because the structural integrity is not as good after a certain amount of time. But Antonio Brown, while he's also dealing with his frostbite feet, is trying to figure out is basically in the staring contest with the NFL and the Raiders about the helmet he's been wearing his entire career, which apparently they repaint. Like when he got traded to the Raiders, they repainted it. Just an old
Steelers helmet.
Old Steeler helmet is now a Raider helmet, and he's basically threatening that he's going to retire if he doesn't get a chance to wear his helmet. And it's one of the most unusually fascinating things I've ever heard.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you think the old helmet is in any way connected to both the frostbite injury and the fight to keep the old helmet? Like maybe he took one too many ringers with a helmet that is way out of regulation and maybe just isn't thinking completely straight about it. Because 10 years ago, helmet, nothing compared to the tech that they have now about like pressure release and being able to take a hit.
Well, to me, that's the thing. I mean, like, the only parable I can think of is in hockey, because they used to be able to play. Helmets were optional for a long time, and they.
By the way, there was 50 years between the regulation of wearing a cup and wearing a helmet in the NHL. So protect the balls, very important. Protect the brain 50 years later. That's how the Canadians roll.
But basically, they at a certain point, they said, all right, all players need to wear a helmet. But certain players who had been grandfathered in the old system where you didn't have to could still continue to not wear a helmet. So you would see like one player skating around without a helmet and everyone else wearing helmets. But to me, I always watch that and go like, I understand the argument that your vision is impacted a little bit by wearing the helmet. Like you don't have the same sort of like full field of vision.
Yeah.
But like all it takes is one puck to the helmet, to the head.
Vision also impacted by puck at 100 miles an hour, cracking you in the skull.
Yeah,
sideways,
like
so.
I just never quite understood. It's like
people. I mean, it's like, listen, football is life, and I get that. But why? As soon as somebody developed a helmet that the NFL would let me wear, I would wear it. Yeah. I would just be like, oh, this is going to help me not get CTE. Fantastic. Let me go put that helmet on. Great. I don't understand the fight, but perhaps I'm not Antonio Brown. I don't know. Yeah. I also get paid millions of dollars.
I have to imagine that he thinks it's magical or something like that.
Yeah.
Or it's like his lucky helmet or something. Like there's got to be some like reason why he's like dying on this hill. But I mean, like apparently the other thing too is like that throughout the course of training camp, they've been saying like he first showed up with the helmet at first, and then they were like, hey, you can't wear that helmet anymore. He's like threw a big fight, and then the next day came in, took the new helmet, and was practicing with that. And then a couple days go by, and then he has the old helmet back on, and they're just like, we told you about that fucking helmet. He's just like, oh, sorry, just grabbed it by mistake. And then shows up the next day with the old helmet again, and they're just like, you can't wear it.
We're going to take it from you.
He's like, I'm going to retire. Like, I don't know what.
Well, on the other side of the spectrum.
Maybe he's talking to Marshawn Lynch.
It could be, yeah. Just try to retire.
Marshawn just seems like the type of guy who would just tell people to retire. It's just like, yo, if they don't let you wear your helmet, just say you're going to retire.
Just retire. Well, yeah, but what if they don't let me do it? Retire. Who cares?
Retire. I don't give a fuck. You're Antonio Brown, man. You got money.
Like, no, man, I spent all my money. What? Man, I didn't spend any of my football money.
Marshawn Lynch is still living in a one-bedroom walk-up in Oakland. He's just like, you don't got all your money?
Yeah, who also famously never spent a dime of his NFL money. Got a sponsorship before he entered the NFL and only spent the extra money, not his paycheck. So
incredible foresight by Marshawn Lynch.
Good for him. So you can say shit like, "I'll fucking retire, man. I don't even care. I got millions in the bank.
I literally have $170 million in the bank right now. I haven't touched any of it.
Oh man,
I was just gonna buy Dubai at some point."
On the other side of the coin, though, the Ravens had their first preseason game.
Yes.
If you want to know how it went, final score 29-0 against the Jaguars. Now, keep in mind, it's also against the Jaguars, so
it's also preseason football. It's not. Yeah.
So Lamar was out there for a drive and a half, maybe, or two.
He was out there for a little while. But here's the thing, and again, the NFL is just fucking stupid in this regard. Like, if there was a MLB TV equivalent to the NFL, I would have it. Yeah. But the problem is that like the cost of the NFL Sunday ticket streaming package is like $160 a month or something like that, and that's just not worth it to me.
I want to see one team. I don't really care about the rest.
And
of them.
you don't get preseason games.
Yeah.
And I know that preseason games aren't like, like nobody really wants preseason games, but like to me, preseason football should be free on the internet for everyone. Just go to NFL.com and watch whatever the local stream of the game is. Because I can't just like, I live in LA. I'm a Ravens fan. I can't go and watch the Ravens preseason game anywhere unless it happens to be on ESPN for whatever reason.
Right.
It's a Hall of Fame game or something like that. I can't watch it unless it's on a big network. So I end up going into the season not having seen any of the preseason, not knowing how these players look, and then going like, oh, who's this new running back we have? Just like Mark Ingram, he signed with the team. It's just like first time I'm seeing him. Let's
explain that. Explains a lot about your fantasy performance in the past few years.
It's all based off of prior years.
Just prior years' knowledge and taking
Patrick Mahomes taking number 1 overall. I'm just like, it's not. There's no way this is gonna go wrong.
Antonio Brown taking number 1 overall.
He had a really good season last year. I'm not taking this Le'Veon Bell guy though.
Oh my!
He didn't have a single yard last year. What's his problem?
What's the news on him? Is he gonna play this year? He was on my bench all year last year.
He's gonna hold out again.
I was gonna
sign
say
a big new contract and just be like, you know what? No, actually, it's not good. I'm gonna redo this.
I hope. Oh God, I hope he plays. Please play. Please let me draft.
Well, now everyone's gun shy because there's a couple players.
Yeah.
Ezekiel Elliott's like saying like he's gonna hold out, and Melvin Gordon is too, and it's just like I think everyone who had Le'Veon Bell last year is so gun shy. They're just like, can't draft Melvin Gordon now.
Nope.
Can't risk it.
Nope. I took up a bench spot all year long with Le'Veon Bell, saying like teasing us every week, like, "Oh, we're getting close now. It might be I'm ready to go anytime they want to sign that contract."
Unfurling the jersey and putting it on the bed and just being like, "Can't wait to wear you, beautiful."
Why are you doing this to me? Okay, all right. And then we passed the trade deadline, and we're like, okay, well, so I guess I can trade him now. But then he's just like, I'm ready for the playoffs. If we make the playoffs,
I did like that he is aware enough of the current structure of the NFL and like where fans come from.
Yeah,
that he spent some time early in the preseason here or early in training camp with a message to the fantasy football players, going like, "Listen, I'm sorry last year I screwed a lot of you guys." But I had to look out for me, and that was I wanted to be on that field. It wasn't that I was doing this on purpose, but for all those who still believe in me, all those who still want to take a chance, even after I hurt you last year, realize that you will be rewarded dramatically.
I looked out for me last year. I'm looking out for you this year. All right.
Like basically saying like I'm gonna look out for fantasy football players.
40 points a week. First of all, you don't call the plays, Le'Veon. Who the fuck do you think you are?
Sam Darnold is like going back in the pocket, and Le'Veon just grabs
the ball
runs.
from him. Actually grabs Sam Darnold, puts him up over his shoulder, and goes running down the field with him. Wait, who gets the points for that?
Down the field.
Who gets the points for that? Does Le'Veon get that if his feet are the only ones touching the ground? Is that how that works? Everybody at NFL is like, all right, how are we going to score that? I don't technically, the quarterback had the ball, but
you lose by 1 point to Rob Clark because he has Sam Darnold and you have Le'Veon Bell and they count it for Sam Darnold. It's just like, you fucks! God damn it, Yahoo!
He did zero work, all right? Come on.
Anyway,
so I think that is all we have for sports ball. But hey, I am excited. Football's back. It's coming up on draft time, and then September 5th? No, next week. Second week of September.
Something like that.
Football's back. Very exciting. 9 a.m. wake-ups on Sunday now. God damn it. So maybe not. Maybe not so excited.
We'll figure out. There's got to be a closer place.
Yeah. Here's what I'm just gonna send a message to the ownership. What's his name? Owner of the Ravens.
Oh, Steve Bisciotti.
Steve,
yeah.
Listen. LA could use 3 teams. Move the team here. All right.
No, don't do that.
Yeah, move the team here. Baltimore's been through heartbreak before. They can deal with it. It'll be fine. We'll get another team eventually. Move to LA.
Just 3 people at the LA Rams Stadium.
Weather's real nice out here. You'll enjoy it. There's movie stars everywhere. You'll be famous. It'll be great, baby. Move out here. Yeah. Or how about this? Just move anywhere west of the Mississippi so we get the late game. So we have the 1 o'clock game.
You know what would probably be the easier way of doing it? Bring back blue laws.
So they can't serve alcohol?
Yeah. Because part of the blue laws, the Colts used to play at 4:15 every single week
because the blue laws.
Because you couldn't serve alcohol 3 hours after the end of a church service or something like that.
Yeah.
So like they had to play at 4 or else they couldn't serve alcohol at the game.
And we don't live in Maryland anymore, so yes, blue laws sounds like the answer. Except for if we could just have a period between, say, Thanksgiving and New Year's where the blue laws do not apply.
You mean the most Christian time of the year?
Yes, yeah. Listen, if we're going to be hypocritical, let's be hypocritical.
I mean, you can still drink, you just can't purchase it.
Right, but then you can't be at the game.
No, but I'm saying all the games would just start at 4:15 instead.
Oh, that's true.
And then we could have a 1:15 call.
Right.
At various sports bars around the county.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm down with that. That means I'd also be able to sleep in while I was home on vacation too.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. I dig it. Yeah, that's good. Let's do that.
Back to blue laws.
Yeah.
Moving on. Somebody who won't be watching a lot of football this season, Jeffrey Epstein.
That was a good transition.
Classic.
Yeah.
Quality transition.
Yeah. You found the story this morning, so I don't want to talk about any details because I didn't see any. But yeah, what's going on with him?
Well, we should probably back up. We haven't really talked about this Jeffrey. I mean, we talked about Jeffrey Epstein a long ass time ago, like probably like 2 years ago or something like that on the podcast.
Before there was a case, when people were just talking about the story. Yeah.
Because there were all kinds of stories about specifically Trump, but other well-to-do people who are friends with Jeffrey Epstein who are going out to like this man-made island in the Florida Keys and like having sex with 13-year-olds and stuff like that.
Lolita Island.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it wasn't it was kind of like a who's who of Manhattan and Florida people who like do that circuit between Florida and New York. And apparently there was the same sort of thing that was going on in like the what's the New York version of the beach? The Hamptons.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had no idea what you were talking about. I'm like the New York version of the Coney Island.
No.
Fire
Like meant like the destination resort.
Yes.
Yeah. The
But
Hamptons.
you take the helicopter or the what's it called? The junket.
Oh, the jitney.
Jitney.
Yeah.
To the Hamptons. Yes.
Yeah.
That's for us normies.
Yeah. Epstein didn't have to take the jitney.
No.
He could just get in his helicopter and go. Anywho,
Guillotines.
he was there most recently there was a case in Florida that was brought against him, which was dropped. Or no, he pled guilty to some part of it, but did not get significant jail time. He was able to leave for work release to work at his what was he again, a stock trader or something like that?
Fund manager.
Yeah, like
I think.
General fund manager or something like that. But it was a big joke because he's rich and powerful, and he was kind of caught dead to rights with all these like young women who he was like shepherding across the country.
Yep.
Working for him and like giving out massages and blowjobs to powerful people
And recruiting other women.
to
do it.
Like the whole thing was really sickening. The DA who was responsible for trying that case is now working in the Trump administration. There was some blowback recently about him having to leave because he didn't properly try and get Epstein for these awful crimes in Florida. But more recently, in the last couple weeks, New York had taken it up and charged him with 2 different counts of what's the name of it?
Mann Act.
It's like it's sex trafficking, basically.
Mann Act. Transporting a woman across state lines for sexual purposes.
Yeah. And he was facing the possibility of 45 years, and he's already 60-something, so that would have been a life sentence. And there was a lot of conversation going on sort of in the periphery about things that were coming out about the case. He tried to commit suicide last week, was put on suicide watch.
Let's not skip over the fact that the things that were coming out in the periphery were every famous dude who lives in New York was going to these islands.
Yeah.
Like Alan Dershowitz, who's not even that famous, but he was on that.
Well, that was the thing. For the last couple weeks, there's been, part of the reason we haven't talked about it too is because there seemed to be other more important, like, relative things that were going on. And we were trying to focus more on the, this seems like we could start talking about this any week kind of
Right.
thing. Like, we don't have
This
to,
trial's gonna last forever,
Yeah.
and it'll come up anytime, and then
and at some point something interesting will happen, and we could talk about it then, and we can sort of backtrack on this whole thing. But
something interesting happened.
yeah, something interesting happened for sure.
Anyway, yes.
He was found dead this morning in his jail cell, no longer on suicide watch. And there aren't a lot of details specifically about what is going on with this thing. And I hate to be this person because it makes me sound like some sort of Fox News loon when I start getting into this. But this does not add up. This is very fishy. And it does not feel like he just decided to commit suicide this morning. It feels more like somebody murdered him. And
who was the football player?
I'm very worried about what we're gonna hear or not hear about this case in the next coming days.
Who's a football player who was murdered? Somebody. He played for the Patriots. God damn it.
Aaron Hernandez.
Aaron Hernandez.
Yeah.
And the entire time we were like, yeah, this does not make sense. Why would he kill himself? Doesn't really. How would he have done it? He was on suicide watch the whole 9, but then he's dead. And it's just like, there's more at play here, and they just wanted to, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. This one is even more suspicious than that one, where it's just like a lot of powerful people have a lot to lose.
Well, yeah. So,
and by the way, life sentence, maybe, but you can get a lot of time taken off when you start testifying against other people who maybe had sex with minors.
Yeah.
Especially if one of those people is, I don't know, the president of the United States.
Yeah. So here's the interesting. Here's where it gets really. Yesterday, they had released as part of the investigation some names that had come up in some of the illicit sexual acts that had occurred under Epstein's watch. And the names included Alan Dershowitz, former Senator George Mitchell, the former governor of New Mexico, Bill Richardson, and Prince Andrew.
Of the United Kingdom.
Yeah, of Wales.
Yeah.
And
you might think, wait, is this the listing of a board of some repute? And you're like, no. This is a list of men who traveled to an island that Jeffrey Epstein kept to have sex with children.
Yeah.
That's who this is.
Yes, teenage girls.
Teenage
girls,
girls, I should say. Yeah, teenage girls.
I mean,
Women,
still children, but
yes,
I'm saying like
girls under the age of 18.
I feel like when you say children, people think like 6 or 7 year olds as opposed to like. I mean, it's not any better or worse. I'm just saying like it's
teenage girls who were transported to that island to avoid American law to be made available for American businessmen
for sexual
purposes.
Yeah.
Yes,
and I will say this: the potential foul play that unnerves me the most is the Trump matter of this.
Ooh.
Because he is in federal prison, so the Department of Justice is responsible for all the prison guards, all the people who work at the penitentiary, all the chains of the chain of custody is in the Department of Justice right now, headed by Bill Barr, who is known to throw interference for Trump.
And to lie to Congress.
Yes,
yeah. Under oath.
And Trump had a long friendship with Epstein. There's many pictures of him and Epstein together.
In fact, there's a picture of him, Bill Clinton, and Epstein on a plane on the way to Lolita Island.
Yeah.
Funny enough.
And there are a lot of conversation. So the story we talked about like 2 years ago on the podcast with Epstein was in regards to Trump and a report that he was using Epstein for these services.
Right.
Was as recently as a couple years ago, they're sleeping with underage women.
Just before he decided to run for president.
Right.
Yeah.
So if there was some sort of foul play involved that emanated from the White House and through the Department of Justice into this prison, into Epstein being killed, and then some sort of cover up to make sure that this doesn't go wide, then that is a very dangerous thing.
Yeah.
Like I don't like it.
More dangerous because the truth will not come out. Because the only people who have evidence is the administration who wants to cover it up.
Yeah, and though I worry that there's a lot of people on the outside who would be able to there's got to be some other security guard there who isn't like, hey, it's weird that Jerry switched a lot of shifts to work on that Epstein.
Maybe
all by himself. That's weird.
I feel like though this is the deathbed confession kind of thing where 25, 30 years from now we'll find out about it. And then everybody
Bill Barr
will be
is
dead.
just on his deathbed and he's just like, by the way, I killed Epstein.
Or he wouldn't have actually killed him. He would
I
have
didn't
had
do
him
it
killed.
myself. I'm a coward. I had somebody else do it for me.
Yeah. Or the guard himself will just say, yeah, I had a lot of gambling debt. Didn't want my mom or my wife to find out. So
yeah.
They found me. They took advantage of me, paid off my debt, killed Epstein.
And I mean, like, the other thing is, and I'm not, because I know that probably somewhere in the offices of Breitbart right now, they're trying to figure out how the Clintons did this.
Right,
And I'm not saying that there wouldn't have been the problem.
Question:
with this story,
is there a pizza parlor near the holding facility?
The problem is that there are so many high profile people involved in who could potentially see their legacies destroyed, that there are a number of people who could be sort of seen as like suspects in a potential foul play.
It's the murder on the Orient Express. Once you dig in, you realize there are so many people here who have motive to try and kill him, and all of them could have done it because they have the resources as well. So.
Yeah, but the most troubling being the actual president of the United States.
Yeah.
Like the current president of the United States who might have organized it for his own benefit. Like that, those are and here's the other thing too. I was talking with Roberto yesterday specifically about like Beto O'Rourke and like how he's saying he's gonna start cursing again because he can't help himself anymore. There is a part of this where I feel like any candidate who wanted to could just show up today in front of a microphone and say, it's not the fact that I think the president did this or that he's responsible for going through with the process of trying to kill somebody who's in jail, but the fact that all of us hear this story and can't automatically say, no, there's no way that the president would be involved in this is a shocking new low for where we are as a society. It's like the same thing we were saying with the Sean Suiter investigation with the Baltimore Police Department. The fact that immediately 95% of the people who heard it said he was killed by cops is like that's the worst part of being a Baltimore police officer right now, is that like you just don't have the basic trust that you wouldn't even kill one of your own. And the same thing could be said about this. Like, we can't, it's not like if Mitt Romney was president, nobody would say like, oh, Mitt Romney had that guy killed because that Mitt Romney went to all these parties with Jeffrey Epstein. Like, you're just like, no, that doesn't make sense. Romney was never seen with Jeffrey Epstein. Romney seems like the guy who's never had sex in his life except for the 5 children that he's fathered or whatever.
Which may or may not have involved sex. They may have been like, listen, I don't really want to touch you.
There might have been like a chastity blanket with a hole or something like that. I mean, like, and he just looks too much like a Boy Scout to have like the criminal mastermind part of like killing somebody.
Obama, for all his flaws, really liked killing brown children in the third world. Probably would not have done this. And I would believe that he didn't do it. It wouldn't be my first guess.
Well, I mean, like, there's a lot of people who were saying, like, because the Clintons obviously sort of had this thing going on with, like, Seth Rich and all these other people who have been rumored as part of, like, this criminal conspiracy that the Clintons were trying to take out. And, I mean, like, part of the reason why, like, people would be able to believe that the Clintons would do something like this is because they so often sort of operated under their own interest and outside of the usual parameters of how things were done. So people would think that, like with Clinton trying to cover up a blowjob for Monica Lewinsky for so much, like, like the steps that were went through just to keep that off the radar for as long as humanly possible makes people think that you're capable of doing that for other things, that there is something secret going on that you're able to get through, you know?
Yeah. And if you're capable, it's a lesson that friends of ours learned very recently this week, but if you're capable of one thing, then are you capable of the next step or something almost equally as bad? Well, yeah, of course we're going to question. And again, something we brought up last week in the pre-show meeting we didn't really get to was I fully believe Trump could shoot a man on Fifth Avenue now, and it would literally become a talking point. Just like, well, listen, he had it justified. He's the president of the United States, and the man came up in a very threatening manner, and he shot him.
Yeah.
And the video comes out, and the guy's running away, and Trump's chasing him, and he shoots him, and he's like, we don't know what happened before they started recording.
Screaming the N-word. Like,
Yeah.
Die. Bah, bah, bah.
Well, but listen, Corey, as you know, it's Hollywood that's racist and not Trump.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know why you would bring that up. Because the president made very clear this week that Hollywood is very racist, and we need to focus on that and not the fact that he is inspiring white supremacists to shoot people. So,
well, do you want to get into a little bit of what movie he is specifically talking about here?
well, I was gonna say if you know more about it, I just saw as soon as they were like, yeah, we're gonna postpone or push this a little bit. I was like, okay, so clearly it's not gonna be a thing. But I mean, the movie's called The Hunt.
Yeah.
It's a Blumhouse picture. Which, by the way, hey Blumhouse, I got a lot of really good scripts, and if you're out there and you're looking for something, I can make it. It's like a lot of cheap stuff you could make.
Same thing with HBO and the.
Oh, they canceled Confederate?
Yeah.
I wonder what happened with that. Maybe it wasn't such a great idea to, in this culture, write a script where the South won and slavery was still a thing. What are you thinking? Oh, probably the same thing those cops in Texas were thinking when they dragged a prisoner behind a horse.
Oh, my God.
What is going on? Okay, so I made this argument. You weren't here on Thursday night? Thursday night.
Right.
So I stumbled upon this thing. There's a theory out there that, in fact, the world did end in 2012.
Okay.
And that we are all now in purgatory because everything is not horrible, but it's definitely not great.
Yeah.
But it's way worse than it was and way weirder than it was. And when we know of people dying, they're not actually dying. They are finally being decided, good or bad, and released to whichever reward they were going to.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of us are just so fucking mediocre that we remain here in purgatory.
Yeah.
But then I don't know the rules of purgatory because I'm not Catholic. So I don't know if it is like a dream where when I realize I'm in purgatory, they have to decide and send me because I realized it on Thursday and I'm still here. But
I don't think that. I don't think it's. I like the purgatory thought because it would explain a lot.
Yeah.
But I feel like there would be some sort of like, I don't know. To me, purgatory always felt like a floatless void.
Not continuing to live.
Yeah, I mean, like it didn't ever feel like a continuation of what was going on. I mean, like, so I guess the idea that I always had of like heaven or hell was like it was a new chapter. It's like when you got dropped off at college or something like that.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
You're clearly starting a new part of your life right now. And it's like you die and you go to heaven, and then you're just like, okay, so these are all the new people that I live with, the ones who have already passed on, and later I'll see other people, like Rachel and Rob will eventually come up when they pass.
You're gonna die first. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm just saying, like if I'm
laws of probability.
I'm doing the thought process of like if I were to die tomorrow, like hit by a bus kind of thing, then like. Like what I imagine heaven would be like at that moment, like when I walked in, it's just like I would see all the people that I already knew who died, and a lot of other people who died. I could see Shakespeare like skateboarding or something like that.
First of all, he smoked pot. He's going to hell. But purgatory though is the floating void where you're just like waiting for a decision.
Yeah, that's what I always. It was just sort of like you're not deserving of either. You just sort of go to purgatory and you float in the void.
Purgatory is where they put
where
you
all the
while they
unbaptized
decide.
babies were.
Yeah. They put you till they can decide. And that makes so much sense, right? Because the unbaptized babies, you let them live their lives to decide where they're going to go. A baptized baby gets to go to heaven. Unbaptized, they grow up in this world where they get to live, and we figure out what are they, good or bad, and then they make a decision and they go, right? We're in purgatory. I've just decided that's the case.
Maybe all the violence is God deciding.
Yeah, and how do we react?
Maybe that's where the right is right on this. Like they're just like
yes and no, but do we put children in concentration camps?
Yes, we need guns. Well, I mean, I think that the people who are making those decisions are making the decision of where they're going to end up here.
Yeah. Jesus, so pro concentration camp, as we recall very clearly.
I think it was the book of Matthew where he spoke of like. his enjoyment of putting children in cages.
Yes, yeah. The an Arab man from Palestine, clearly on the side of people who would create concentration camps. But anyway, wow, we covered a lot of stuff in there. Where was the original point that you wanted to go there with the? What were you talking about?
Trump's racist Hollywood.
Yes.
Yeah.
The movie.
Yeah.
The Hunt. Yes.
Yeah. So basically, what it was some rich coastal elites go to some sort of like compound where they get to hunt the most dangerous game.
Yeah.
And in this case, the most dangerous game is like Trump supporters, essentially.
Yeah.
So, and it's supposed to be like an ultraviolet, like kind of campy satire on the idea of like politics and the coastal elitism, and I don't know, like it's
made by coastal elites, by the way.
It's sort of hard to figure out like exactly where this movie is coming from or why like somebody was just like, this sounds like it needs to be invested in, like, but yeah, I'm gonna put it this way. I've never worked anywhere where there's more different types of people than I have in the time that I've worked in the film industry.
Yeah.
And I've never had as many female bosses. I've never had as many people of color that I've worked under or parallel to in terms of like a work structure. And Trump, and this is the thing. People don't realize that like this is the breakthrough I've had here in the last couple days with Trump. It's just that everyone is trying to be political in the way they respond to him. And that is not the way that it's going to work. Like you have to, if he says something like Hollywood is racist, which is just a patently dumb, stupid thing to say up front, you need to, you can't respond with some sort of thing like, like, well, I disagree with the president's statements and feel, because then the argument that starts happening on cable news and on opinion shows and stuff like that is like, like Trump said awful things about Baltimore, Elijah Cummings disagrees. Like, it's not like there's no back and forth. If Elijah Cummings at some point goes like, motherfucker, fix it. You have you can do more about this than I can. You notice there's a problem, fix it. Then the thing would become, Trump says shitty thing about Baltimore, Elijah Cummings asks for help. Right. And then that becomes the story of like, should we spend more money trying to help Baltimore out of this situation? What would the federal intervention look like that would be able to help move a major American city forward as opposed to backwards and stuff like that?
Trump says Hollywood's racist. Someone in Hollywood says, hey, takes one to know one. And now we're talking about how the president's a racist.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and again, this is what I'm saying. Like, one of these damn Democratic presidential candidates just needs to realize that, like, they can't go through life doing the, like, well, I disagree with the president's statements on whether or not Hitler was a pretty cool guy. And, like don't, like, just, like, and this is why I was saying, like, Beto O'Rourke as, like, punk rock president. Like, get him back to his, like, 90s days in a punk rock band.
Standing on tables, cursing.
And you don't have to, he doesn't have to be, like, mad disrespectful or anything like that. But, like, literally, like, he could make a lot of hay just by, like, people saying, like, Trump through gritted teeth denounced white supremacists the other day. And then Beto could just be like, I don't know, sounds like the type of thing a white supremacist would do. And then all of a sudden that's a story. Like,
yeah. Is the president a white supremacist?
Yeah, like don't like, oh, I'm not comfortable at this moment to determine whether or not the president has enough value of what the white supremacist movement is currently blah 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 blah. Like,
yeah.
If you're Joe Biden your way through every single one of these goddamn answers, you're just going to hurt yourself at the end. Or Kamala Harris. Like, you gotta like, just like at some point somebody's just gotta be like, yo, fuck this guy, like, real. Like,
also, if punk rock presidential candidate could, smash a guitar over Joe Biden's head, that would also be great. And just, wrap up that whole campaign.
Yeah.
Or if Joe feels like, hey, you know what? I heard Beto cursing. I'm gonna drop a curse word. And then, I don't know, uses the N-word during a speech. That would be amazing. Be like, Joe, that's not a curse word. Oh. All right, I'll go pack.
You know what would be funny though, if Joe, because I imagine the curse word that Joe Biden uses the most is pussy. It's just naturally, like, he feels like a person who says pussy a lot, and Like, I would love to just be on the debate where it's just like, like Cory Booker's like going at him over something. It's just like, well, you perpetuated the awful drone warfare that was happening in the Middle East throughout your time in the Obama administration. I wouldn't do that sort of thing. And Joe's just like, come on, Cory, stop being such a pussy. It's just like, all right, well, see you later, Joe.
Yeah, you bet. I'm his campaign manager backstage, and I'm like, what do you say? Wait, what do you say? All right, yeah. Hey, Jane, can you get me a flight back? Yeah, I'm heading back to California. Yeah, no, it's over. That was the end of it right there. Yeah, cool. Thanks. Yeah.
Casually walking over to Elizabeth Warren's campaign, just going like,
good job.
So, do you guys got any openings? Or
listen, if you guys get to the,
pretty sure I'm not going to be having a job tomorrow. So if you want to,
if you get to the everybody
catch
else,
me in.
yeah. So just let me know. Let me know what you have available. I'll stuff mailboxes. If that's really what you want.
Call people.
I'll make calls.
Yeah.
How are you looking in California? Just let me know. Let me know.
I know some people there. I know Gavin Newsom. Do you know Gavin Newsom? I'm going to introduce you.
Oh, gosh. Anyway, so speaking of the candidates are in Iowa.
Yeah.
They're doing candidate-y things like going to a breakfast and...
there's the Iowa State Fair this weekend.
Yes. Talking a lot about guns and gun reform, offering plans of their own. Most of them forgetting that they still hold a public office right now and could go do something about it. And instead, they're just talking about it in Iowa. But not to be outdone, Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats got together this week.
How about this? I got an idea.
Yeah.
Just as a thing that we could start doing, if you were so inclined to raise the stakes on this. Put out a notice if you're like, say you're Tim Scott was, or who's the one who's running for president? Who's like way on the outside, Ohio congressman.
No idea.
Oh God,
there's too many of them.
Yeah, I can't remember. But he was doing like a
walk.
You mean
Jeb Bush number 3? Yeah, Jeb Bush number 3. Right. Yeah.
Democratic Jeb Bush.
Yeah.
He was planning this big march from Ohio to Kentucky with people who are like upset with McConnell for not acting.
Yeah.
I have a way to step this up. Make a list of everyone who's allowed to have a concealed carry permit in Kentucky, and just protest outside of Mitch McConnell's house with as many dangerous weapons as humanly possible.
Oh yeah.
See how quickly, once there's 300 AK-47s outside of Mitch McConnell's house, how quickly he decides to make some moves on not allowing this to happen anymore.
Here's a problem.
You could do the same thing with like all the other.
When the cops shoot somebody, though, do you want that blood on your hands?
Well, I mean, it happened right outside of Mitch McConnell's house. I think that he's a little bit responsible for what happened here.
To be fair, though, how are you going to plan that kind of protest? Because as we know, turtles carry their houses on their back, and that means you'd have to find him where he is, and then.
Well, he's there right now because he fell off his deck and broke his shoulder. So
that's right. We found out he has bones this week. Yay!
He doesn't look like a man with bones, but. Apparently, there's a couple.
Well, to be fair, we can't prove he has a spine, but we can prove that he has a shoulder blade because he broke that. And just to think,
they just float inside of his body.
We were that close. Like he went down on his shoulder. If he had just turned slightly more,
yeah,
and all our problems go away. So sad. But anyway, so Nancy Pelosi, not to be outdone by the doing nothing and talking about it, political candidates. Got all of the House together and was like, we are ready to come back early, and we are going to put this to a vote. But let's just be honest. The Senate's not going to do anything. Mitch McConnell's a huge problem. So we're not going to come back early. We're not going to have a vote that doesn't matter. We're going to focus our efforts on getting Mitch McConnell out of office and winning back seats in the Senate. And I'm like, oh, so nothing.
The unreasonable plan.
We're going to do nothing.
You decided to go with the plan that isn't going to work. Like,
yeah, that's cool. Yeah, good for you. And again, just back to my original thing, which is many of the candidates hold public office right now.
Yeah.
Why are you putting out plans about like when I'm president, I'm going to do this?
Well,
you're a senator. Yeah. Go put that in the Senate right now.
Yeah. You know Mitch McConnell. Like you have his number. Like you can reach him if you.
Honestly, how good would the press the press event be when you go you, presidential candidate, I don't know, Bernie Sanders, although he probably not the one. And Kamala is not going to do a gun thing because she's a cop. Cory Booker, Cory Booker, walking in through the Capitol with a press gaggle behind him, and he goes to open up the Senate chamber door, and he locked. You turn back around, you look at the press, and you're just like, well, I guess Mitch McConnell doesn't find this emergency situation to be such an emergency. Well, luckily I do, and I want to make sure that the first time he comes back to work, sees it. And you nail your gun bill on the door like the fucking 95 Thesis. Yeah. Just like, ba, 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 ba,
or
and
like,
you walk away.
Or the fucking, God damn it, the church document. God damn
95 Theses.
No, the other one.
Which one? What are you talking about? That when Protestantism started? That's the 95 Thesis.
No, the other one.
What other one?
There was another. God, I can't remember the guy's name. Why is this blanket on me right now?
German guy. He started the Reformation.
Can't remember. It'll come to me later.
What document was that?
I'll yell it in the middle of scary stories we tell in the dark.
Get kicked out of Alamo. What document?
I'll probably yell the wrong document too.
Let's do this. What document? What document?
Be like Magna Carta.
Nope, that's not it. Nope, that's a government document. Was it reforming the Catholic Church?
Wasn't it the Lutherans?
Okay, Martin Luther
nailed
his 95 Thesis to the door of the Wittenberg Church.
Okay, so we are thinking about
which is the
thing.
reference that I just made.
There was another document
when I said
that was nailed
like
to
the
a
95
church.
Thesis.
There was another one that happened.
Yeah.
No, I'm not wrong about this. I know this to be the case.
Religious documents nailed to the door of a church. Wait,
like how many
let's
can we
see. Religious documents nailed to the door.
If weird things are happening to the screen right now, just know that
now I have it in studio mode, so nothing's going to change.
It was
Luther and his 95 Thesis. Luther and his 95 Thesis. Protestant Reformation. Martin Luther. Luther and his 95 Thesis. 95 Theses. Luther nailed his 95 Theses.
Is there another name for the 95 Theses?
No, it's called the 95 Thesis.
Is there something that maybe Catholics would call it that I've just been completely unaware?
Well, I mean, yeah, they would call it
like
that's blasphemy.
Silly bitch document.
Yeah, the disputation on the power of indulgences.
No, that doesn't. I don't know.
Not what you were thinking about? Okay.
Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I'll just yell something later during the movie and get kicked out.
Anyway, but yeah, hey, so here's my point. Go do that. You just act like you're doing something and not just coming up with if you vote for me, I'll do this. No, fucking go do it. You can do it. Well, well, go ahead. Yes, sir.
Another thing is most people in America agree with a lot of the things that you could get passed on a gun bill.
Yeah.
Like most people don't want access to assault rifles. That's like both Democrats and Republicans strongly in favor of people not being able to have easy access to assault rifles. People want to have background checks on people who get guns. They want waiting periods. They want there to be some sort of government reference for people who are not only gun owners but have committed crimes to be able to like cross-reference these things. These are all things that are wildly popular across both Democratic and Republican circles. There's no reason why you wouldn't be able to pass it if you wanted to, other than the fact that the NRA has a lot of these Republicans in a vice grip for what they're for sticking with them through thick and thin.
Yep.
And like there's like I know the one that the NRA always brings up is like the gun ownership rate in like Sweden or something like that, or what the Nordic countries up there.
It's Switzerland.
Switzerland.
Yeah, it's like a 95% gun ownership rate.
Like everyone owns guns, but basically everyone's guns are locked up in a place where you can go shoot them, but you can't have them other than
can't have them at your house.
Yeah, and you have to take like an extensive training course to be able to use the gun. And everyone is permitted and regulated and stuff like that.
And re-permitted, like you have to go get re-qualified.
And you can only buy bullets at specialized locations and stuff like that.
Yes.
Like there's a lot of things that go into the gun laws across the country that seem foreign to Americans. But there's plenty of things that we could do that could dramatically solve a lot. I mean, like, me personally, I don't care if somebody owns a gun. I care in so much as it seems like it dramatically increases the ability for somebody to shoot a lot of people with it, which I don't want to have happen. But I don't. If you're a responsible person, I don't care if you have a gun. I don't see the reason to have, like a bazooka or something like that. Like, there's no reason you can make to me that you should have that other than if you're going to a place where you can fire it safely. Like, you shouldn't be able to have a bazooka in your closet.
Why not?
But you should be able to have a bazooka at the range where you're able to fire it.
Why can't I have a bazooka in my closet?
Because what's the point? It's not like you're protecting yourself from home invaders with the bazooka in your closet.
What's the point of a lot of the rights articulated in the Bill of Rights? You may never need the right to avoid self-incrimination.
Yeah.
So what's the point of it?
I know where you're going with this. You're trying to get me into another conversation about like preparing yourself for the violent overthrow of the government and stuff like that. But
I'm just saying, have you ever had to face a penalty from the government that was unfair and extreme? So if the Eighth Amendment doesn't apply to you, why should you even be able to embrace it?
I think that there should be more. People can't be trusted with the guns. That's the problem.
Listen, I'm all for permitting. I'm all for testing. I'm all for.
I don't want
to. I don't
want to take guns away from people. I just want only the people who should be trusted to have them be able to have them.
I agree, and
I
want to be the person who makes that decision.
I think a lot of people would qualify hypothetically to own guns. I think that a lot of the people who currently own guns are not those people. That's the problem. Like,
yes.
The people who are more inclined to want to have a gun are the people who are more inclined to cause trouble with said gun.
Yes.
If my mom wanted to own a gun in case somebody tried to like break into the house or something like that, and she never once fired it other than like, a couple times a year when she went to the range, I would be perfectly fine with that because I trust my mom is not going to go shoot up people.
However, I would be fearful that your mom would actually be injured by the gun that she has because you're far more likely to have that gun taken from you.
Yeah,
because she's not likely to use it on someone.
Oh, I get it. I'm saying like, but I wouldn't stand in her
right to get it
get it if she wanted it. But the problem is that all the people who say like, oh, I'm getting a gun are the people who are like, I'm more worried that you're going to like go shoot up a bunch of people.
To be fair, the only people who want guns that we know of are lunatics who are like maybe like abusive of the people in their life and like to control them and tell them what to do, and just seems like those kind of people are gun people.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not clearly, but I also don't own guns, so
right,
one of those things. Yeah.
Do we have anything else on the list?
We did. The only thing left is just you haven't seen it, but just go check out the video of the child whose father was taken by ICE. Like, it's heart wrenching, and I want everyone to watch that video, and then I want you to go check out the tweet from the Anne Frank Center in Amsterdam.
Yeah,
and I want you to compare those two things and imagine Anne Frank at 7 years old, which is about the same age as that child, when they took her family away, and then luckily, the community hid her before they came for her and secreted her away to the Netherlands, out of Germany into the Netherlands. I just remember that we used to have these thought experiments where we said, what would you do if the Nazis came for your neighbor?
Yeah.
And literally, the Nazis are coming for your neighbors now.
Yeah.
So it's not a thought experiment anymore. It is, what will you do when the Nazis come for your neighbor? And try to just take the dad and put his children in a camp somewhere. Like, who? And again, how is this not purgatory? Who are we? Who are we as a country that this shit is happening? But,
well, and that's I feel like so many candidates for president could just be saying like, where are we as a country? Like, do we really want even this to be like our worst? The worst part of us, like, yeah, like what's to me, I feel like America is always a work in progress, and there's always going to be things that are wrong, and we're always going to be striving to be better. But there are times where we actively do things that are known to be wrong, and it sets us back.
Yeah,
and I think that's the place we're at right now.
Yep.
Anyway, that's depressing. You know what's not, though? OTheanthem.com. CoreyOTheAnthem.com. O The Anthem on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the listener line. 443-219-7595.
What's the number again?
443-219-7595. You can find more of me at my website, CoreyBakerFilmmaker.com, Facebook.com/CoreyBakerFilm, or at LegendsCB5 on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. I did a review for The Farewell this past week. We're talking about going to Alamo tonight and seeing a movie, so I will hopefully have another one up on Monday for y'all. And don't know beyond that because I have a very busy work schedule for the next week and a half, so we'll see. But I'm always driving for new reviews. Go check them out.
And remember, they're available in podcast form too.
Yes, at anchor.fm/Corey Baker Film.
Yeah, you're so good at this promotion thing. Of course, you can find everything from me at Robert N. Cheek on all your social networks. Make sure you check out robertncheek.com, where you can find links to my political blog, the news website, and the books, which are available on Amazon.
Barrow's books.
I can now say for sure The Calls, The Movement, short stories book, and The Chair are all available at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and anywhere you can get digital books, all there, and in paperback form.
What?
I am once Corey gets off of this job, we are going to get the cover done for one of them. Something.
Foe?
Foe. Was that the last one I was waiting on? Yes. For Foe, which I edited this week. I've got most of the editing done. We're on schedule once again for a September release. Mm-hmm. So 4 books this year.
Also,
1, 2, 3. 3 already.
Also, the website, when I have free time as well,
yes,
is going to be coming as well. So
yes, so keep that in mind. We got a lot of exciting stuff happening. But yes, books are up, so go check them out.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've done good here today.
We've done something. I don't know if it's good, but as always, you're listening to the O The Anthem podcast, part of the O The Anthem digital network. For Corey, this is Rob. Have a great week, everybody.
And, maybe not so much of the children in cages thing.
Yes.
Or the shooting people. Or the sex trafficking.
I have a bit of advice.
Or the batting left-handed. All the worst things this week.
I have a bit of advice that will fix all of that.
Guillotines?
Guillotines!